Made of Glass. Chapter 1. Katsuki Bakugo was an asshole. Everyone had known that. But he was also your first love. Katsuki was everything you remember about high school. You're not exaggerating when you say every single memory, except for the first few weeks of your first year, Katsuki Bakugo is there. Sometimes you miss him, and sometimes you missed what you had with him. There was no point in denying he kept you afloat. He did. During your time at UA, things usually felt surreal. A few months after the breakup, you'd started getting random moments of nostalgia. Times when you'd be lost in thought and memories with him or about him would force itself to the front of your mind. It happened mostly when you saw, heard, or smelled something similar when you two were together. Like now, this smell. It unlocked a memory you'd forgotten about. Now, it felt like centuries had passed since that time. It smells just like it did back then. You mumble unconsciously. Your top sidekick rushed into your office, shouting something, only you were too caught up in the dreamlike movie that was playing out in front of you to really notice. You sniffed the air again. It smells like... Boss! He's here! You blink, Bakugo's face fading away along with the memory. Sorry, you say while shaking your head. Livy, can you repeat that? Her tall frame sagged against the door as she let out the most dramatic sigh you've ever heard. I said, Ground Zero is in the building. She spaced every word out as if you wouldn't be able to understand her if she said it any other way. But that wasn't your top priority. At the moment, your main focus was him. Here, now. Again, your mind took over. I knew it. Huh? You closed your eyes and shook your head. Yes, Livy, we were assigned to work together in the last Pro Hero meeting. I thought I told you. You frowned. Although you did know that you would be working with the Pro Hero Ground Zero, you fully expected to work through your computer screen. His being in your hero office, in front of you, face to face, was a complete surprise to you. However, you wouldn't let Livy know that. Just as you predicted, Ground Zero arrived at your office door a few seconds later. You saw his lengthy body blurred by the screening of your door. Bulletproof glass came with some cons. You knew it was him, and although you weren't prepared to work with him in person, there was nothing you could do about that now. Your best option was to go along with whatever he wanted. You wanted no issues with him, and this was how you played nice. Though you couldn't deny the fact that your heart beat faster and faster within the few seconds of knowing he was in a 40-mile radius. You're not new to the feeling, though. You get it whenever you're called to a Pro Hero meeting. Boss? Livy waves a hand in front of your face. He's, She looks back at the closed office door. He's waiting, ever so patiently. You hear from the other side of the door. So, he could hear you talking? You think to your gods you hadn't said anything stupid. Yes, let the poor soul in. You motion toward the door. Livy looks at you skeptically, her pink hair swishing back and forth. You raise an eyebrow and she hurries to open the door. He walks in and, again, you are caught off guard. He's not wearing his hero outfit. He's wearing a white shirt, a black leather jacket, and black jeans. His entire being catches you off guard, and your words catch in your throat. You couldn't tell from the Pro Hero meetings because A, he always sat in the furthest seat away from you, and B, he was always wearing his hero outfit. Where the hell did those biceps come from? You glared at them intently. Boss? Livy draws your attention. What? Should I bring tea? Your thought was jumbled again, and all because of him. It pissed you off. You needed to get your head screwed on straight. No, none for me, thank you. You smiled, although it was cat-like. Right, and you? She looked at Katsuki Bakugo. He shook his head. I'm fine, thank you. Livy nodded and walked out, shutting the door behind her. You couldn't help it. The first words out of your mouth, before he even sat down, were, "Who the hell taught you manners?" Bakugo sat down in front of you. That's not why I'm here. Your cheeks heated. Of course. Why the hell would you ask him something so friendly? You weren't friends, let alone that close to joking with. You weren't anything anymore. You cleared your throat. Of course. So why are you here? Bakugo cleared his throat as well, shifted in his seat, then fixed his eyes on you. It made you a bit uncomfortable, although it was hard not to notice the physical change. You wondered how his mental state had fared over the years. You also couldn't help the overwhelming nostalgic feeling that washed over you as he began to get comfortable. It felt too much like it did back then, and that was bad. But still, you couldn't ignore the pang in your heart. You need to get him out of here as fast as possible before you did, or, for that matter, said anything you wouldn't be able to take back. The mission, he says, bringing you back to reality. Yes? You blink once. Bakugo mumbles something that you couldn't make out, but the right corner of his mouth is obviously lifted a little, as if he was trying to keep himself from smirking. That look was something you'd gotten very quickly used to when you first started dating. Somehow, it still sent butterflies fluttering around your stomach. This was not going to work. You were sure of it. Sorry, could you repeat yourself? The mission you were saying? Bakugo seemed to catch himself. Right. The corner of his mouth went back to normal, although you were sure anyone who didn't know him as you did wouldn't have noticed the difference. You guessed this just came with the territory. Even so, you did, in fact, hate it. The mission. I wanted to discuss how we'd... He cleared his throat again, averted his eyes to the floor, and then again back to yours. How this would work. Oh. It's made more sense now. Ground rules. He was talking about boundaries. Okay. You start making sure to ease into this. I understand. You lifted one leg over the other and folded your hands together. Leaning back in your chair, you waited for him to speak again. His eyes were hard now, as hard as Kirishima's quirk. The thought made you smile. You missed your old friends, and with the type of environment you all worked in, it was hard to plan events together. You really only ever saw them when you were assigned missions together, which wasn't really the best way to hang out, in your opinion. Yes. His voice sounded rough. How had you not noticed it before? Now that you looked at him, really looked at him, you noted the heavy eye bags he's carrying. If I could, I would opt out of this, but we both know that isn't an option. His eyes sweep yours again, quickly but intensely. So, I thought we should get formalities out of the way. He was talking about the history between you two, Gods only knew how much of it there was. The butterfly feeling in your stomach dissolved away immediately. Your face went cold, your walls went up, and Bakugo's frown deepened. It was as it was back then. There was no more calmness. All of the nostalgia you'd had left along with it. We both know what happened. I don't think we need to go over every detail. No, we certainly do not. You didn't mean to cut him off, but you did, and you weren't fond of regrets, so you decided to go with it. As you looked at Bakugo, though you thought you might be somewhat of a hypocrite, you shoved the thought to the back of your mind and refocused on the conversation. Look, he said in the calmest voice you think you've ever heard from him. I know, all right? He locked eyes with you, forcing it, not caring about anything but that. It seemed like he was trying to say it, not just with his words, but with his entire being. You had to admit, you respected him for being the bigger person. You clearly were not going to do it. I know. Something in you melted at his words, as well as his eyes. You looked away, unaware that you were trying not to cry, until you were blinking away tears. So what do you want to do? You asked, still looking away. We can be civil about this, like the adults we are. You paused, giving yourself a moment to form your words accordingly. Or we can forfeit the mission. What do you want to do? Obviously. His tone wasn't sharp, but it was just about. I want to try and work with you. We're adults now, like you said. I think we should be able to handle this without personal feelings. It was a stupid high school relationship. It shouldn't be a big deal, right? Right. You answered briskly, of course. The tears were gone now, but so was all of the emotion. This was how you spoke to him during pro-hero meetings. Respectful, professional. It was your business-like mindset. You could do this. What did he call it? Right. Just a stupid high school relationship. It's in the past. No hard feelings? You stood and extended your hand, but you didn't force a smile. This was Bakugo, and you knew, no matter what happened in the past, you knew you never had to pretend with him. It was something, at least, you thought. He went to shake your hand, hesitated for the smallest second, then took it in his. Your cold hand rested against his warm one. For a moment, you were again taken back to before. It was a quick shake, one that you both swiftly withdrew from. Bakugo closed and opened his hand a few times. You kept yours closed. You both watched each other with your eyes. He suddenly blinked and looked away, breaking the heavy atmosphere that had been created by the shared eye contact. You remain unfazed, watching him turn to leave. He reached for the door and again, like your hand, hesitated. His body went rigid, and you thought he might turn back around to say something, anything. You loathed the part of you that wanted him to, but after that brief moment, he grabbed your office door handle and walked out. You let out the breath you were holding. You slumped back into your chair, calming yourself, calming your heartbeat you were sure was going to bring the building down. Livy was in your office at a second's notice. With your hand still over your heart, you rolled your eyes and said, I told you, it was about the mission. Livy wasn't your best friend, but she was the closest thing you had to one. When you first met her, she was a little quiet and a bit jumpy. She still is, but never mind that. You were going through your old phone, making sure everyone's phone numbers had been transferred over to your new one. you'd come across Bakugo's number, unfathomed as to why you had never deleted it. You were about to click on the giant delete button at the end of the edit information when you got a text message from your boss. You'd clicked on it and replied right away, though while you were in your messages, it got you thinking about Bakugo. So, out of sheer curiosity, you went to the search bar and typed in his name. Nothing popped up. You were confused for a moment. Then you realized you had also never changed his name. You felt a little dumb because you had just been on his contact. You typed in Suki. His messages popped up right away. You clicked on them and began to scroll, smiling at the insignificant things you'd used to talk about. Livy walked in on you smiling as you relived old memories and got curious. "Boss?" she'd said. "Doc wants you in equipment." You were still dazed from looking through your messages that you stood and left for the equipment room with your old phone on your desk, just waiting for the wrong person to come across it. Of course, Livy read the messages and put the pieces together herself. While you were angry at first, you'd caved a few days later and told her everything. Well, everything that everyone else knew. You'd left it at, "But we broke up before graduation, it's in the past." You told her to keep what she knew to herself. After all, you didn't want to be known as the hero who reads old messages with their ex. It sounded and tasted bad on your tongue when you said it out loud. Apart from your parents and high school classmates and teachers, Livy was the only person who knew about your relationship with the pro hero Ground Zero. Although he wasn't Ground Zero then, and you weren't Whisper. In bed, you rolled your shoulders. Today put a lot on you. You needed a massage. That was obvious. Grabbing your phone, you searched for your nearest massage therapist. A place called Whimsical popped up. You thought the name sounded funny, but grabbed your brown coat and threw your black running shoes on nevertheless. Your keys and phone were the only things you brought with you. You would have left your phone, but after the massage, you planned on getting a light coffee or tea from your favorite cafe, which was your favorite because of the proximity and because it stayed open 24/7. Not only was it convenient, but the prices there were absolutely inconspicuous. It would make your old classmate Ochako Uraraka foam at the mouth. Although now, with her being Oravati, you suppose she had more than enough money. Her net worth was almost as much as yours. She was one of the ones you missed dearly, Yaoyozuru and Jiro too. There were two that you did not miss, however. You let the name drift away, not wanting to dirty your mind with it. Your SUV was waiting in your driveway. Your house wasn't that big because it was just you. Your mind and heart jolted at the same time, as if they had conspired this beforehand. The memory of you and Bakugo sitting on the 2A dormitory couch, talking about your future together, made you want to cry. It also made you want to stomp out any emotions you'd ever had for him. Your heart was pissing you off. You couldn't even think about Bakugo without it going on a roller coaster. It was nothing new, but that was why it irritated you so much. You felt like ripping open your chest and tugging the damn thing out yourself. It was crazy, you knew, but for a second, you thought about leaving the city, leaving Japan, starting over in a new country. Maybe Korea would have something for you, or China, or hell, even Singapore. Just a vacation. It came to you in an instant. Of course. How could you have not thought of it before? A vacation is just what you needed. Although you couldn't take one now because your mission was assigned directly from the Council of Pro Heroes, you could definitely take one right after. There wasn't a doubt in your mind that you would be denied. In the past 2 years, you have been given a total of 7 vacation days and 5 sick days, and you've never used a single vacation day. You scarcely use your sick days for days that you were throwing up, a can't-get-out-of-bed type of sick. Your gasp was audible. You've been a pro hero for 2 full years, and not once in that amount of time have you had a vacation. It sounded even crazier than moving to another country. No wonder your revenue was so high. You were a workaholic. Why? You asked yourself, but deep down you already knew the answer. You pulled into a small parking lot as the GPS said to and parked. You closed your eyes for a moment, rubbing your temples, trying to clear your mind. Before you stepped out of your car, you inhaled and exhaled. Livy said it helped with stress, and you found it worked pretty well right before bed. It was also working pretty well right now. Silently, you thanked her, opened the door, hopped down, shut it, and locked the car. The tiny building that had whimsical written in big green letters was quaint. The waiting area wasn't packed, but that was to be expected at 10 o'clock at night. You wondered why they were still open, but shrugged it off as just dumb luck. The receptionist was fairly nice, and the soft music playing in the background wasn't bad either. You filled out the application papers quickly. The receptionist smiled, and her name tag read Martha. It sounded like a 19th century name, but who are you to judge when your name was literally YN? Mitchell will be with you shortly. We don't have too many appointments this late, Martha said. Her accent was thick. You thought she most definitely had to be American. You smiled and nodded. Thanks. Next time, though, I do recommend you make an appointment. Right, I'll remember that. Why are you making an appointment anyway? You look so young. You mustn't be more than 18. She frowned, which made you smile. I work out a lot. Comes with my job. You reply, and I'm 20. She didn't look surprised at all as she shook her head. Kids these days. You sat back down, and sure enough, a guy with a name tag that said Mitchell came through the double doors a few seconds later. Hello, he said. I'm Mitchell. I'm the guy who runs this joint. You smiled again, another American. You took his hand in yours, the memory of Bakugo hesitating to take your hand running through your mind randomly. Follow me, Mitchell says. He turns around and walks back the way he came. You rush to follow him. He takes you down a longer corridor than you had expected this building to have. Mitchell points at a door that has a 5 on it. You nod and step in. Mitchell waits by the door. A therapist will be in shortly. Please be ready. Sage will knock on the door before he comes in. Then he leaves you alone. You walk around the small boxed cube. You set your phone next to your keys on the only chair available. You remove your shirt and any undergarments you have. You fold them neatly, then set them next to your keys and your phone on the chair. A few seconds later, you're face down on the folding massage table that takes up most of the space. There's a knock on the door. Come in, you yell. The door opens and you can hear the person's footsteps. The door shuts behind them and they speak. Hello, my name is Sage. I'm going to be your therapist today, or tonight. He laughs a little, which makes you chuckle. You're YN, right? Or would you prefer it if I called you by your last name? YN is fine, you say. Alright then, if you feel uncomfortable in any way, please let me know. He says, I'll tell you the products I used on you after the treatment, unless you want me to let you know right now. To you, he sounded like he'd perfected professional small talk. It was something Livy had yet to learn. You smiled at that thought. She was a new hero, barely getting her bearings, but only a year younger than you. No, it's fine, you can tell me after. Are you ready to start? Yes, please. Sage laughs, and so do you a little. Your bones were aching. His name sounded familiar when you first heard it, but you couldn't figure out where you'd heard it from. Now, though, that it's just you and your thoughts, you remember. In middle school, your best friend had a boyfriend named Sage. Now that you had put the pieces together and you weren't searching your mind endlessly for the connection, you could relax. This is nice, you say, letting out a breath. Yeah, most first-timers say that. It's great, though. Makes me feel great. Yeah, you reply, and it's the last thing you said, because by the time Sage had finished, you were knocked out. You had no idea when it happened, but sometime during the massage, you fell asleep. Sage was kind enough to wake you, although you also thought he might just want to go home. It was pretty late for a massage therapist to be working. As soon as you stood up, you already felt the difference. Your shoulder and neck all felt amazing. Once you were dressed, you walked out of the room and back down the corridor. Sage was leaning on the receptionist counter, talking to Martha. Your eyes were fixed on the back of his head, but then he turned around and your mind stopped. No way. It couldn't be this big of a coincidence. This really was your ex-best friend's ex-boyfriend. He could change his hair color, but he could never change those steely gray eyes. His hair used to be a fine silver, almost identical to his eyes. Now it was black, all around raven. I knew it was you the moment I read your name, he said, his smile small. How? You asked, but didn't really care. Was this the same wimpy boy that asked out your best friend? He was a year younger than the two of you, but they still dated him because they thought he was adorable. You had told them to be careful, that leading someone on was mean. They shooed your warning off, and now you finally understand what your mother was always saying when she said, "Karma always finds a way." You guess he found a way. Sage? You asked. He nodded, his smile brightening. You remember? Remember? You didn't know how to feel. What the hell happened? You're hot. He blushed at your words, his pale skin still betraying him. I just dyed my hair, really. He played with the tussle of his bangs. You stood back, watching him intently. You were shocked to find that he was right. He still was that wimpy lower-classman. His body just got bigger, and he really did just dye his hair. How have you been? You question, walking up to him. I see you put on some muscle. Your arms used to be so skinny. You laugh, reminiscing about the times he tried to put his tiny arm around BNF's neck, but was too short. Sage smiles. Yeah, I was such a wimp back then. You try to catch yourself from full-on flooding the ears of everyone in this building. You settle on smiling magnificently. Oh, Sage, you pat him on the back. What makes you think you're not wimpy still? His smile turns into a slight pout. See? You point at his face. Anyway, it's not something to feel bad about. It's a good quality. Don't lose it. Sage smiles at that. Thanks. Sure. Hey, we should catch up. I know we weren't the closest, but I don't really have any friends outside of work, which is totally embarrassing to admit, but it's true. So, what do you think? You don't know where it came from. It just came out. But your words held weight. You could use a friend right about now. Not to say Livy isn't a friend, but she's just a little too chaotic sometimes. Sage smiles, his eyes lighting up just like they used to. That'd be nice. What's your number? Or if you're uncomfortable with that, your Instagram is fine. You again tried not to aw in his face. When he'd dated BFN, you'd treated him like a little brother. Now you remember why. He was so freaking adorable. You can have both. Let me see your phone. You typed in your phone number, labeled it Big Sibling, then went to Instagram and typed in your name. You had a personal account that was separate from your pro hero account. Most pros did. You handed his phone back and went to your phone to follow him back. Your personal account was private, of course, as again were most pros. You didn't have anything new on your feed. Everything was old. If you're free tomorrow in the afternoon, I can take you to the best convenient cafe. You say, tucking away your phone. Sure, I'll text you so you have my number, then you can send the details. Yeah, it was nice seeing you. Have a good night. You wave. Thanks, it was nice seeing you too. Have a good night. Get home safe. Martha adds. Will do, thanks. You smile at both of them, then walk out. While sitting in the parking lot of your convenient cafe, you sip away at your hot coffee. November was a cold month to begin with, but in Japan, if you're outside without some kind of hot beverage, you're practically asking to freeze to death. Your defroster warms up your car. The cold air outside glaring at your phone screen. You were on Instagram and somehow ended up on Ground Zero's page. You were glaring at one post in particular, at one person in the post in particular. There were 6 photos in total. 3 of them, Ground Zero and Red Riot. 2 of them, Ground Zero and Cellophane. And 1, the very first one, you might add, was of the old Bakugo squad. Except, unlike back then, they were in their hero outfits, and their pro hero account was tagged instead of their regular one. She was just one person, yet she still managed to get under your skin so much. You wanted to chuck your phone at the dashboard window, then run it over with all 4 of your tires. You were biting your lip, gripping the phone so hard you thought you might break it. She was standing right next to him, so close to him. The audacity of these two. You don't know why you were so frustrated. A stupid high school relationship, to quote Bakugo's words, is what it was. He's right. He is right. You kept telling yourself, he is freaking right. Your chest was heaving up and down, so you locked your phone and took a few minutes to just breathe. When you got the courage to pick your phone back up, you went straight to the search bar and typed in his name. Not his pro hero name, but his first and last given name. The account popped up immediately. You held your breath, not knowing what was waiting for you if you clicked on it. You shook your head and clicked on the damn account. 2 things you noticed right away. 1, you were still following his personal accounts on your personal account, which was odd. Didn't you unfollow him after the breakup? The second thing was the photos he had uploaded. There was only 1 post, and it caught you so off guard, you thought you were going to have a heart attack. The photo was of the 2 of you. You were in his arms, laughing at something he had said. You remembered taking the photo, but you don't remember who took the photo. It was your 3rd year at UA, that year's New Year's party. Ochako and Jiro had asked Aizawa-sensei if they could throw that year's party on the roof so the view of the stadium fireworks was clearer. It had taken some convincing. You remember because Aizawa had fussed about it with President Mike, who told his kids, who told Kirishima, who told the rest of the class. You caught yourself smiling as you recalled the memory. That night, you cuddled up in Bakugo's lap on the couch your class had relocated to the dormitory roof. You tried your best, but you just couldn't remember what the hell Bakugo had said that was so funny. Your brain began to overheat, so you clicked out of the post. Then, out of sheer curiosity, which seemed to be your get-into-trouble signature, you clicked on Bakugo's following. Were you expecting it? Maybe just a little. You don't know what you were hoping for more. For him to not be following you? or for the opposite. All you know is, as soon as your profile popped up, your heart gave way to that nostalgic feeling again. God damn it, you whispered as you felt the tears roll down your cheeks. Just a stupid high school relationship, huh? They were flowing more easily now, and it seemed futile to continue wiping them away. So you sat there, in your favorite convenient cafe parking lot, wanting so badly to have a second chance, but knowing it was, like wiping your tears away, useless. Questions crowded in your mind. Firstly, thoughts like, what the hell? What did this mean? Then, because you were so confused that you didn't know what to think, why? You wanted answers. And finally, how were the best answers acquired? By getting them straight from the source.